What's good, y'all? Tonight on Relationship Talk with G's, we will be covering the following topic. At what point will you finally decide to let your partner go before things get traumatically ugly? We will cover celebrity examples of Kanye West, Pete Davidson from Comedy Central, Kim Kardashian, Blueface Bleed'em, and Christian Rock. We will also cover news reports such as the LA crash, an Oklahoma shooting and suicide, and the stabbing that took place in Philadelphia, PA. But last but not least, we will cover part 2 of another past relationship of my own and how it relates to tonight's topic. Also, during the beginning 10-minute waiting time for the show, we will have special music appearances featured by Six Ray Music, Kaylin Castle, Tomas AvecMoi, and you guessed it, Deja B. And you will hear none other than the one and only, yours truly, my new remix, which will serve as the official theme song for Relationship Talk with G's. With that being said, thanks for tuning in. Hope you enjoy the show. Let's get it.
Yeah.
Candy.
Yeah.
25.
I think I want you, girl. I ain't gon' lie. Do what you want to, girl. Don't be so shy. I'll hit the blunt too, girl. Let's go get high. Let's go get high. Let's go get high. I think I want you, girl. I ain't gon' lie. Do what you want to, girl. Don't be so shy. I'll hit the blunt too, girl. Let's go get high. Let's go get high. Let's go get high. Yeah. Yeah. Let me get high with me. Look at the sky with me. You said you would try with me. Now you surprising me. Come see the sunrise with me. Cause that's what I like to see. Yeah, that's what I like to see. You come and ride with me. You come and vibe with me. There's no need to fight with me. Ain't no need to cry with me. It won't be goodbyes for me. You keep getting high with me. Just like I'm alright for you. I know you the type for me. Yeah. I know you the type for me. Keep on that life for me. I'ma need you in my sight for me. Cause that's what I like to see. Live up to that height for me. Then you'll be on flights with me. Yeah, I think I want you, girl. I ain't gon' lie. Do what you want to, girl. Don't be so shy. I'll hit the blunt too, girl. Let's go get high. Let's go get high. Let's go get high. I think I want you, girl. I ain't gon' lie. Do what you want to, girl. Don't be so shy. I'll hit the blunt too, girl. Let's go get high. Let's go get high. Let's go get high. Do you love me like you say you love me? Or is it just when you high and when you sippin' bubbly? I know all these shorties on it make it hard to trust me. But I'm thinking to myself like how you just so lovely. You so selfless with yourself, you put no one above me. Always keep that business to yourself and never rush me. I was thinking like I couldn't let no shorty cuff me. But I'm copping you with locking you like it's a Mustang. I hope you got my back like you won't ever cut me. You quote me when I rap, ain't never try to hush me. You know that I'm not mad, I just needed adjusting. You wrote me, I wrote back, so time to go discuss things. Let's go get high.
Boy, you turn me on from the way you walk. Confidence and all, yeah, you're such a boss. Who would believe I used to write you off? I was wrong, you got the sauce and my attention. Viano nice, you know I'm sipping. Come and catch every drop is dripping. Like a faucet, oh, you got me licking for your cup of my love. Boy, you got me spilling, I'm spilling, spilling, I'm spilling, I'm spilling, I'm spilling, spilling all over y'all. Spilling, I'm spilling, spilling, I'm spilling, spilling, I'm spilling, and I'm over y'all. Know that I'm spilling, 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 spilling all over y'all. Spilling, 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 and I'm over y'all. on my body like it's Sunday. It hit different when you in to make that levee break. There's no exaggeration, put that tongue in places. Still I'm beyond it, as you know I'm slipping. Come and catch every drop that's dripping. Like a faucet, oh you got me leaking. Well you got me spilling, 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 spilling all over y'all. Spilling, 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 and I'm over y'all. Know that I'm spilling, 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 spilling all over y'all. Spilling, 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 and I'm over y'all. Know that I'm spilling, spilling over y'all. Spilling over y'all. Spilling over y'all. Spilling over y'all.
Baby, can I explore your latest? Not lose control of our heart, babe. We can do it. Attached, baby, no strings. Oh, baby. Oh, baby. It's wonderful. Wanna get you in the mood. Wonderful. Pleasing you. Oh, baby. Oh, baby. You're interesting. You're amazing. Now that you're here, now that we're here, got it all spread. You on the bed, grab you by your hair. Know you like it, yeah. Got me singing, oh, got me singing. Baby, you tell me you want it slow, slow. Dive so deep, deep. You on top of me, top of me. You see the time has come inside me. Oh, 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 baby. Oh, baby. What you doing it for? Wanna get you in the mood. Wonderful. Pleasing you. Oh, baby. Oh, baby. You're interesting. You're amazing.
Speeding in the fast lane, the windows down, yeah, he got my music blasting. Feeling too good, it's like the night is everlasting. I wanna feel you tonight. Tonight I wanna have fun, have a good time and turn up. Nobody else, it's just us. Pour up a drink, baby, don't even think about none. Tonight I just wanna touch on you, cause I never done nothing like this, but don't mind, cause I got a thing for you, boy, just bring your love. Tonight is the night where you bring out this side in you they couldn't find in you, but I shine my light. Tonight is the night where I sit on my pride aside. Let's make wrong feel right. Dancing round and round, hands up, don't put them down. Love on in the air, scream like nobody's there. Dancing round and round, hands up, don't put them down. Love on in the air, scream like nobody's there. Boy, tonight we losing our minds. Boy, tonight you are all mine. Boy, tonight let's lose our control. We drink and love making till 8 in the a.m. Speeding in the fast lane, the windows down, yeah, he got my music blasting. Feeling too good, it's like the night is everlasting. Just let me kiss you tonight. You look so mine, it's too clutch. There's no such thing as too much. When I'm with you, there's no one else in the world, just you and your girl, that's us. Telling them this ain't just lust. Do you believe in true love? You do and I do, what's up? What you tryna do, baby boy, make a move, speak up. Tonight is the night where you bring out this side in you they couldn't find in you, but I shine my light. Tonight is the night where I sit on my pride aside. Let's make wrong feel right. Dancing round and round, hands up, don't put them down. Love all in the air, scream like nobody's there. Dancing round and round, hands up, don't put them down. Love all in the air, scream like nobody's there. Boy, tonight we losing our minds. Boy, tonight you are all mine. Boy, tonight let's lose our control. We drink and make it till 8 in the AM. Boy, tonight we losing our minds. Boy, tonight you are all mine. Boy, tonight let's lose our control. We drink and make it till 8 in the AM.
Show lights. Boom. There we go. Welcome to Relationship Talk with G's, where our conversations aim to keep you pleased. I'm your boy A1G's, and you are now welcome to the Guru's house. Take your shoes off when entering.
So many things we can do. Room for us too. We can do it, baby. Rose petals, candles lit. I clap my hands in. Right like special the room. Name it for you. Know you had a long day. Let me take away your pain. Give me all of your emotions. Land it like a plane on your back if I can hold it. Life is but a dream that you manifest slowly. So fuck a fantasy, this your motherfucking moment. This your motherfucking moment. This your motherfucking moment. 7 whole days, how you leave me on vacation. All inside you, I can't leave. 97 degrees, come get some vitamin D. Call your nigga up, say you boss a piece of shit. You mandated OT. Let me fuck you back to sleep. Give me all of your emotions. Knock it out the park with that piece of where you throwing it. Your trick catching light came on, I might have to tow it. This ain't no Hell Kitty, but she ride me like a pony. Girl, it's your motherfucking moment. Girl, it's your motherfucking moment. Girl, it's your motherfucking moment. It's your motherfucking moment.
What's going on, everybody? How's everybody doing tonight? How is everybody doing tonight? I'll give y'all a couple seconds to tap in. YouTube, how you doing tonight, man? How you doing tonight? I'm doing better with the comment section. Instagram, how y'all doing tonight? I'm doing better with the comment section. We got people wanting to join in from the rip. How y'all doing tonight, man? Long time no see. Noonie, how you doing? I'm gonna give you an order of how the show goes. If you're watching from Instagram, okay, this is how the show usually goes. Instagram is an extension of a show that I'm currently live streaming on YouTube. So I add Instagram in. Thank you, appreciate it, Noonie. Instagram is an extension of what I do on YouTube. So I tap y'all in so y'all can hear what's going on. But most of the time when I do the phone calls, it usually is on Instagram. So YouTube, if you're listening in, if you want to speak to me when I do the open up the call lines, I'll put a phone number up for YouTube. Instagram, if you want to speak to me, boom, you just hit the request thing. So usually I'll do a 10-minute timer. We already did that already. I'll do my intros. Hello. Okay. And then I'll get right into the topic of the evening. It's a 15 to 30-minute monologue on the topic of the night, so you understand what we're talking about. Then after I do that, what we will do is open the call lines and talk about it. So we got a lot to talk about tonight. So I'm gonna post. I'm gonna put up the topic right now. So there we go. So, man, this candle's freaking hot. I'm trying to type on my tablet here. So you see the topic. You see the topic. At what point will you finally decide to let your partner go before things get traumatically ugly? At what point will you finally decide to let your partner go before things get traumatically ugly? Okay. We will be covering a number of things. Instagram, I'm going to repeat it for you. We will be covering celebrity examples of Kanye West, Davidson from Comedy Central, Kim Kardashian, Blueface Bleed'em, and Christian Rock. We will also be covering news reports such as the LA crash, an Oklahoma shooting and suicide, and a stabbing that took place in Philadelphia, PA. Last but not least, we will cover part 2 of another past relationship of my own, you guessed it, and how it relates to tonight's topic. Oh, I'm typing it in here. At what point will you finally decide to let your partner go before things get traumatically ugly? So I'm going to put live topic. Live topic. I'm going to put a dash. Select all, copy, post. That's it. Let's get right into it. So we're going to talk about all of these things in order. We're going to talk about all of these things in order. So the first thing I want to talk about is Kanye West. I'm going to briefly talk about Kanye West, Kim Kardashian, and Pete Davidson, because this is important. This is important to understand why this has something to do with everything. So, Kim Kardashian, as we all know, is a 304 chick. Sorry, but I'm not sorry. And when you deal with a 304 chick, you get 304 results. But it's more to it than just being a 304. This has absolutely nothing to do with the topic. It's just a consideration of the kind of woman that you are choosing. So, Kim Kardashian had a very hurtful background growing up. From her mom, from her sisters. If anybody has been through drama, it was Kim Kardashian. However, some way, somehow, in the mix, she managed to come across multi-billionaire music artist Kanye West. She knows how to pick him. And what was it that every man had, like Kanye, has in common, like the rest of the men Kim Kardashian picked? Personality-wise, I could tell you that's absolutely nothing. But I can tell you this: financially, that is the only thing that all these men have in common. That is the only thing that all these men that she picked have in common. He likes men with money. Kim Kardashian was never even relevant to begin with until he dated these famous people. He's no different than what I would like to say some of these IG models that get exposed, like when Tyrese was dating that Instagram chick and wonders why, what, y'all know the line. Y'all know the line. Y'all know the line.
What more do you want from me?
You know the line. So when you put yourself in those type of predicaments, but we're going to talk more so from a standpoint where it counts as far as trauma. Kanye West had a very traumatic experience since the moment his mother passed away. So traumatic to the point where, and excuse me if I'm wrong, so traumatic to the point where he didn't even go to her funeral. Can you imagine the trauma behind somebody that don't even go to their own mother's funeral? The point I'm trying to make is, here's a person that's been through trauma. Here's a person that's been hurt, like Kim Kardashian. And what do they have in common? Hurt people attract hurt people. Hurt people attract hurt people. Point blank, period. Hurt people attract hurt people.
Real bad.
Okay. And the next thing I want to talk about is Blueface Bleed'em and Christian Rock. Blueface Bleed'em and Christian Rock. Y'all saw the viral video. Y'all saw the viral video about them getting into a physical altercation outside. Blueface Bleed'em for whatever happened. He was walking away. He was walking away from his girl, Christian Rock, and she kept jabbing at him. She hit him with a nice monkey pox style TKO. Then Blueface seen that the camera was rolling. So he put on a show and sucker punched. Sucker punched him. So you would think with a situation so traumatic like that, you get into so many physical altercations, you would think that they would leave, right?
Stop the cap.
No, they wouldn't. But most importantly, what you need to understand is that the love that Christian Rock and Blueface have for each other. Seems like to me that that's their way of exchanging their love with each other. It doesn't mean that it's healthy. Just because of the way that they physically communicate with each other, it doesn't mean that it's healthy. This is a different type of situation. I like to separate trauma from this next example of relationships. This is an example of, say it with me, guys, toxicity. Toxicity. Say it with me. Toxicity. Toxic people attract toxic people. Okay? Because they're still together. He even offered her $100,000 for her to leave him. She would not go anywhere. I'm not going nowhere. You stuck. And she still wants to collect the bag. She's still going to collect the
Get
bag.
the French toast out of here.
They also, all of a sudden, out of nowhere, welcome home their newborn child. They also welcome their newborn child.
Get
Come
the fuck
on,
out my
man.
phone.
All that the whole time. All that whole time. And you guys got a new child. Okay. So, do you remember what Christian Rock said to Blueface? She said to Blueface that you told me to get rid of my baby, yet you got your baby mama pregnant. Is that not toxic as fuck? Holy shit. Holy shit. Talk about toxicity at its finest. Talk about toxicity at its finest. That is a good example. Kanye West and Kim Kardashian and Pete Davidson all have past history trauma. And trauma-minded people prey on trauma-minded people. Traumatic people attract and prey on traumatic people. Blueface and Christian Rock is a perfect example of toxic people attract toxic people. Let's also cover the next story. Okay. Oklahoma shooting. Does anybody know about the Oklahoma shooting? If you know about the Oklahoma shooting, put a 1 in the comment section, put a 1 in the chat room. If anybody knows about the Oklahoma shooting, put a 1 in the comment section, Instagram, put a 1 in the chat room, YouTube. I'm going to tell you about the Oklahoma shooting. Okay? Here is the story. Story time. So, I'm going to reference the source, okay? This comes from Fox 25, posted Monday, August 8th, 2022. Oklahoma City Police released more information on Monday after a murder-suicide left 3 young children dead this past weekend. Police say officers responded to a home on Northwest 109th Street early Saturday morning following a check welfare call. Okay? This is the story behind it. That was the basis. Okay? So, here's the story. Oklahoma City police say a man who shot and killed his 3 children before turning a gun on himself live streamed threatening messages shortly before the killings. So basically what happened was this man finds out his baby mom gave him an STD. She cheated on him. She gave him an STD. Right? And this man couldn't handle it. This man, all the way to the point where he ended up going on a live stream, sending his last message. He was so traumatized by it, and he ended up killing 3 of his children, announcing their death, pre-announcing their death. Excuse me, let me be careful what I say. YouTube is very sensitive, but this is what happened. And then that was the last video that we seen. However, what I am going to play is sensitive. I cannot show the video. However, what I am going to do is play the audio. I cannot show the video, but I am going to play the audio. Father kills himself and 3 kids after baby mama gets him an STD. Listen to this audio. Listen to the audio.
Hey, this shit's so fun. Look at my son right here. I just told him I'm finna kill his ass. You hear me? That's fucking fucked up, cuz, on my soul, nigga. But see, everybody think I'm joking, right? I'm playing, right? Everybody think I'm fucking playing, right? Right, okay. This gonna be the last time. This will be the last video I make. Nigga, God rest my soul. Wook, over your foreman, you are responsible for your part in this too. You chose to be a destroyer, right? It's okay, fine. You hold this, take this with you. Tatum, wow, nigga. After everything I gave you, cuz. After everything, all I wanted was a conversation, nigga. I told you, nigga. All you had to do was talk to me, nigga. All I wanted was conversation. That's it. I wanted you to be woman enough to look me in my fucking eyes, nigga. After 13 years of my life, nigga, give it to you. Nigga, and come.
We're going to stop right there because it's very sensitive. Very, very sensitive content. Very, very sensitive content. Can you imagine the hurt that went through this man? Can you imagine the hurt that went through this man? Through his mind, to the point where it got to that point. Can you imagine the hurt that this man was enduring? That he put other lives, his own, in danger. Can you imagine the last story? The last story I want to tell you. The last story I want to tell you is about a Philly stabbing. They had 5 kids together, if I'm not mistaken. One of them being a newborn child. Was born. I'm going to give you that source, and I'm going to tell you what all of this has in common. I'm going to tell you what all of this has in common. This one comes from 6ABC. I will not mention the name, but he's charged with murder and possessing instruments of crime in the death of his woman. A man has been arrested and charged after a woman was found stabbed to death inside of a minivan in West Philadelphia on Saturday morning. Raymond Thompson, on the 2900 block of Kensington, is charged with possession instruments of crime in the death of his woman. They didn't say the details behind it, but can you imagine what she was going through? Can you imagine how long these two were going through a toxic relationship? This stuff just doesn't happen overnight. This stuff just doesn't happen overnight. I'm going to read the comments. YouTube. I see some comments in here. Let's get it. Six Ray says, can't wait to hear your take on this one. Geez, it's very important to teach our young men and women how to maneuver out of situations that aren't the best regarding toxic and traumatic relationships. Also, I appreciate you sharing my music on your platform. Let's tap in soon. Yes, sir. Trev Smooth. He got his popcorn. He says, let's get it. Appreciate you, fam. He said, got the jazz going. All right. So let's do this. What all these things have in common? These are examples. These are prime examples of situations that you can avoid in the beginning when you first meet somebody. It doesn't mean that you're going to see all the red flags right away as soon as you meet them. It doesn't mean that you're going to see the red flags during the 90-day probation phase that you guys are getting to know each other. It doesn't mean that you will see the red flags all the way up until you guys maybe possibly even move in with each other. You know, they say you don't know how somebody truly is until you live with them, right? So it's very important to understand that once you catch the red flags or something that is not of your liking or your interest, it is important for you to sit down and talk to your partner, especially if you catch it early on. You don't want to get yourself so deep into something to the point where you are now trying to get an X. You're locked in a cage and you're trying to hammer through a wall to escape yourself out. You don't want to get yourself that far. So how do we avoid these things? The problem is, what all this has in common is a lot of these kind of people who have these traumatic situations attract those same kind of people with the same trauma. And why is it? It's because they jump so fast to the next person. This is just one example. Not everybody does this, but there are some men and women alike that when they get out of a toxic relationship, and more so the toxic ones, not the traumatic ones. There's a difference. Toxic meaning you're just being a DH. You're just being reckless, physically reckless, verbally reckless. There's a couple different examples. They jump back into another relationship, and half the time when I speak to some of my clients, when I speak to fellow people on my shows, they'll tell you it's because I didn't want to be alone. It's because I didn't want to be alone. And we're going to talk about that tonight, because I am going to give you the last example of what all these situations have in common or have some type of similar relevance. We're going to talk about another example of one of my relationships. Story time, people. It is story time. I love share my experiences with y'all. Share the live to everybody. If you're on Instagram, share this live, because this is story time. This is story time. And when it's story time, especially talking about me, I want as many people to know as possible. So let's get into it. Let's go. So I'm going to send this to a couple more people, myself, because this is important. And I feel like if I share a lot of my personal experiences, people can relate. People can relate. Men and women alike can relate. So I'm clicking on my live, Instagram, clicking on it. And I'm going to share this with a bunch of people. Hold on. So let's begin. I told you about the 2018 relationship that I was in. It actually started in 2017 and it ended in 2018. At that present time, I could point out her flaws. I could point out my flaws where it counted. And I was still in process at the time. I'm still in process now, but I was way off my guard at that present time. By the way, candle of the evening is Afterglow. Doesn't have a specific scent, but it does definitely bring a warm vibe. So I'll show y'all that. Can y'all see it? Boom. I like that. So the next relationship that I was in took the level 10 times worse. So I was in this relationship. It lasted only 4 months. This is probably the shortest lasting relationship that I was ever in. And I do mean relationship because I was good acquaintances with this person. Then I became good friends with this person. And then we ended up in a relationship. So what happened with this person? This person had a very bad addiction to drinking. Every night around 12 something at night, I would get that phone call, that dreadful phone call to go to what we know as a deli. Most people understand this. A deli is the short term for a delicatessen, properly known as going to one of those produce markets where people actually chop up your meat, your ham, stuff like that, and where you buy food, sandwiches, a delicatessen, a food place. In Philly, let me make y'all understand what a deli is in Philly in 2022. Deli is a Urban Dictionary slang term for going to the liquor store and going in there to get your shot. So when people say, let's go to the deli, that's what that means. So if you're watching across the country, this is what I mean when I say, let's go to the deli. So when she said, let's go to the deli, it's time to take those shots. I'm like, cool. But then I'm like, damn, because she about to start her shit. She'll get a couple shots in, and then she'll start getting verbally reckless. She'll start telling some of her past stories. Once she gets a couple shots in, she can't hold it. It's story time. She'll start talking about her family trauma, and the fact that she was actually able to say it. This was an example of somebody that I got to know about all their traumas, that because they couldn't help but to let it out. But it was only after every time they started drinking and they got a few drinks in. So I kind of had up an advantage on this one. But we're going to take it from a standpoint where I had to take accountability because I picked them, right? So I picked somebody who was not ready to be in a relationship. And what does that have in common? Because I, at that present time, after I just got out that last relationship, got right into that relationship not too long after. And I myself was not ready at that present time to be in a relationship. This was about in the year of 2018, if you're joining in. Every time we would go to the deli, she would get a few drinks in. She would start telling her stories. She would start getting teary and emotional. Then once it really hits her system, the liquor, she would start getting physically reckless. Physically reckless to the point where she starts swinging at me in the car. She'll start telling me, shut the fuck up. Like verbally reckless, physically reckless. And then it gets so physically bad to a point where I literally have to restrain her. To hold her back until she gives up and gives in. And then she just starts crying on my shoulder. This is an example. I tried to make it work the best that I could. I did everything in my power to make it work. But she was not ready to be in a relationship. She just did not want to be alone. And guess what? At that present time, neither did I. But that's when I learned, I paid attention to the red flag. I made a determination that I tried everything that I could, but it just wasn't good enough. It was bad to the point where I was calling my best friend and I was questioning myself. Am I doing something wrong? Am I doing something wrong? I was telling her sorry.
I'm sorry. Sorry. Sorry for things that I didn't do. Sorry for things that I didn't do. Have y'all been there before? Put a one in the chat room. Put a one in the chat room if you've been there before. You told your partner sorry for things that you didn't do, just so they can feel better. Just so they can feel better. I poured my whole heart into that relationship. And the problem in that relationship was I wasn't using my brain. And the problem is a lot of people put their heart before their mind. When you love someone, let me tell y'all something. Love is supposed to come last. Because if you respect yourself, you love yourself. Come on, I know I'm preaching in this church today. If you respect yourself, you love yourself. And if you love yourself enough, you will not put yourself in a situation where you end up with somebody who don't respect you. Or if you come across red flags, you would traditionally nip it in the bud. So this was the final straw when she lied and said, "Oh, I'm talking to somebody else. I'm talking to somebody else. I'm talking to somebody else." And guess what I said? Guess what I said?
Emotional, damn it.
I said, "Okay,
Go ahead. You can get your keys. You can give my keys back. You can grab your clothes, grab your stuff, pack your shit, and go." She wasn't living with me, but she definitely did have a stay the weekend bag there. And y'all know when y'all see that duffel bag, fellas, when y'all see that duffel bag, you know she got the keys to your crib. You know she popping up at random. And you know this good and well. You two are sharing a car. That's right. So in this case scenario, I was sharing her car. She would stay with me on and off. And I told her she can get her shit and go. She didn't see that coming. This was what I call checkmate. Checkmate. I made the right decision. I got out before shit got ugly. In these case scenarios are what I mentioned earlier from the Christian Rock Blueface situation, Kanye West, Kim Kardashian, Pete, Kanye and Kim. Their situations got ugly and left by force. The lady behind the LA crash, I didn't even mention that story. She blew a red light 100 miles per hour and hit 8 cars. Cars instantly caught on fire. And she ended up killing 6 people. That includes an infant and an unborn child, and injured 8 people on top of that. She is facing 90 years in prison. What was the motive behind that? The motive behind that was she was going through so much with her dude. We don't know what the aggressor was, but you can imagine the trauma. This did not just happen overnight where she decided I'm just going to go on a suicide run. This did not just happen overnight. So we have to understand how things lead to where it gets your mindset to the point. And that's why we say mental health awareness is very important. And we found out she wasn't even intoxicated. She was sober when she did this. She was stressing over her boyfriend. At what point in the early stages? So that's really the main question I want to ask y'all. At what point in the early stages will you finally decide to let your partner go before things get traumatically ugly? At what point will you finally decide to let your partner go before things get ugly like that? You have the power to control your narrative moving forward from the beginning. You have the power to control your narrative. It starts with who? It starts with you. Self-awareness. Self-awareness is sexy. 2022. Self-awareness is sexy. I like to carry on Kevin Samuel's slogan. Self-awareness is sexy. Be aware of how you feel about yourself. The situation where the guy ended up committing suicide after killing his 3 kids, his children. How do you avoid a toxic woman? Fellas, ladies, how do you avoid a toxic or traumatic man? If it's toxicity, you can catch that. If it's trauma, you won't find out until later. You may find out earlier. If it's trauma, 9 times out of 10, that trauma is not the same as yours, but it means that you have trauma as well. And traumatic people attract traumatic people, especially when they don't want to be alone. Sometimes it's okay to have a better relationship with yourself. Sometimes it's okay to have a better relationship with yourself. These are examples of situations that they could not get out of. Like the Phillips family. They already had all these kids together. They were deep in, skin deep. But while you have, I'm using this example to let you guys know that it is not too late. It is not too late for you to get that deep. It is not too late for you to save yourself before it gets that deep. Johnny Depp, Amber Heard, it got that deep. Johnny Depp was an example where he was the victim. He was the victim of abuse. He was the victim of abuse. They were married. Okay. Went through a divorce. She tries to take him to. She deforms his character. The movie production label where he did Pirates of the Caribbean. They let him go. He sues Amber Heard for $15 million for defamation of character. If I'm not mistaken, I believe he sued her for less, but she appealed it and lost again. So now she had to pay more. So there you go. $5 million, I think, was in punitive damages. $10 million was for the defamation. But these are situations to show you that you don't want to get that deep. So how do you control your narrative and unlearn what you have learned? So with that being said, I'm going to open up the call lines. Guys, it's time to have a conversation in the Guru's house. Relationship Talk with G's. It's time to sit down and talk in the Guru's house. So, this is what I would like to know. At what point will you finally decide to let your partner go before things get traumatically ugly? At what point will you actually control monitoring any red flags that you think that you see. The call lines are open. YouTube, the call lines are open. Instagram, the call lines are open. Call into the show. 215-509-8880. Again, that's 215-509-8880. I'm going to take my Instagram calls first because Instagram loves tapping in. And I have some people that I chose that I want to speak to tonight. We can go through certain angles on what I want to talk about. You can consider it a free session. This is a night where we're going to talk about how you can better control your life and your relationship with yourself. This is what this live is all about tonight. Learning from other people's mistakes. There's so many examples that all happened recently within literally a month's time span. Literally within 30 days, all this happened. So how do you control your narrative? You can use this to control your narrative and say, well, damn, mine may not be as bad, or if it is just as bad, I have the power to actually sit down and make things right. This is an example of, I may be doing bad, but there's someone out there that's doing worse than someone else. There's someone out there that's doing worse than me. And I'm going to use that opportunity to count my blessing. So the call lines are open. So, with that being said, let's take the first caller. I'm going to shut this off. Let's get into it. I want to speak to as many people as possible. I want to speak to as many people as possible. And you don't have to talk about your personal situation. We could just talk about the topic of the night because that's what it really is about. That is what it really is about. If you would love to, 1 second, join in, there's the number right there. There is the number right there. And I'm going to put up the banner one more time, y'all, so you can see YouTube, so you can see what we talking about here. Topic: at what point will you determine to let that partner go before things get traumatically ugly? Finding the red flags, identifying the red flags. If you decide to be with somebody, that's cool. Everybody wants to be in a relationship. Maybe not right away, but if you decide to, that's cool. But you got to be able to deal with it because relationships aren't perfect. Relationships aren't perfect, and you have to know how to tackle them. So there it is. So I'm gonna go ahead and play one more song for y'all. Maybe I'll loop something else here. Give me a second. I'm gonna go ahead and loop a song for y'all here while we wait for a caller. I'm gonna go ahead and loop a song while we wait for a caller. No, not that one, guys. Yeah, there you go. Call lines are open. Call into the show. 215-509-8880. That's for YouTube, Instagram. Just hit the live request. If you don't want to be seen on camera, that's okay. Just that's your camera.
Let's go get high. Let's go get high. I think I want you, girl. I ain't gonna lie. Do what you want to.
Oh, and by the way, let me put out the disclaimer. Callers waive all rights to privacy on YouTube and Instagram in the comment section, in the chat rooms, in the video calls, and on the phone calls. So here it is. Let's have a conversation. Let's have a conversation tonight. And I appreciate y'all. Tapping in. All right.
Girl, don't be so shy. I'll hit the blunt too, girl. Let's go get high. Let's go get high. Let's go get high. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Come and get high with me. Look at the sky with me. You said you would try with me. Now you surprising me. Come see the sunrise with me. Cause that's what I like to see. Yeah, that's what I like to see. You come and ride with me. You come and vibe with me. There's no need to fight with me. Ain't no need to cry with me. It won't be goodbyes for me. You keep getting high with me. Just like I'm alright for you. I know you the type for me. Yeah, I know you the type for me. Keep on that life for me. I'ma need you in my sight for me. Cause that's what I like to see. Live up to that height for me. Then you'll be on flights with me. Yeah, I think I want you, girl. I ain't gonna lie. Do what you want to, girl. Don't be so shy. I'll hit the blunt too, girl. Let's go get high. Let's go get high. Let's go get high. I think I want you, girl. I ain't gonna lie. Do what you want to, girl. Don't be so shy. I'll hit the blunt too, girl. Let's go get high. Let's go get high. Let's go get high. Do you love me like you say you love me? Or is it just when you high and when you sipping bubbly? I know all these shorties on it make it hard to trust me. But I'm thinking to myself like how you just so lovely. You so selfless with yourself, you put no one above me. Always keep that business to yourself and never rush me. I was thinking like I couldn't let no shorty cuff me. But I'm copping you with locking you like it's a Mustang. I hope you got my back like you won't ever cut me. You quote me when I rap, ain't never try to hush me. You know that I'm not mad, I just needed adjusting. You wrote me, I wrote back, so time to go discuss things. Let's go get high.
All right, I'm gonna make the first call. I'm gonna go ahead and take this banner back off. All right, so smooth.
Yo.
Hey, how are you, Smooth?
Excellent.
Okay. Nothing much. So I'm gonna take my time a little bit with this one because I really want my callers to have the floor. I gave a whole bunch of examples, so I want you to tell me. Well, one, if you heard the example, my own personal relationship. I remember when I was on your, I called into your show the other day, and you were talking about, as far as the most about having a relationship with yourself, and really understanding that. And how can I say this? So let's start from here. I called in and I was telling you about my relationship experience and the traumas that the person went through prior to being with me. But the example that I did not tell you about that I said on tonight's show was it was a thing whether maybe I didn't have any trauma, but she didn't have any trauma. But it was one thing that we both had in common. Neither one of us at that present time was ready to be in a relationship. And it was because we didn't want to be alone. Now, I gave a bunch of different examples, celebrity examples, news reports. Out of all those things that I said tonight in the monologue, tell me which one resonates with you the most, which one that you want to talk about, and tell me what you have on that topic.
No.
Pick. It's a whole bunch of different categories. We got Kanye, Kim, and Pete. We got Christian Rock and Blueface. We had the Oklahoma shooting. The guy that killed his kids and committed suicide because his baby mom gave him an STD. We have the Philly stabbing. The guy that stabbed his woman to death. They left in a minivan. We have my personal situation, not as bad as theirs, but me dealing with somebody who had unsolved trauma. Let me take this phone off this thing too. And me being with somebody, me trying to hold on to somebody that one could not be saved, and number two, I was basically at that point hurting myself, and basically it was a question of my own self-love because I was still hurt. I was still hurt from my last relationship prior to that. You get what I'm saying? So it doesn't mean that I was trying to hurt somebody. It could mean that I was hurt, and the person that was hurt preyed upon me to attract me to them. Hurt people. Get over here, Scorpion. Welcome hurt people into their atmosphere. So you got all those categories. Pick a category and whichever one you want to pick. And go ahead. Tell me what you had on it.
All right, so this is all good. Definitely, it's hard to pick. I saw the guy that he killed himself and killed the children and all that stuff too. So that was crazy. That struck a chord with me when I saw it. I'm like, man, what was going on with this guy psychologically? I was ignoring it to say, hey, what makes you think that it's okay for you to not only get self-deletion, but your kids too? You know what I'm saying? Kids are innocent. They had nothing to do with nothing. So something obviously was wrong with homeboy for a very long time. You know what I'm saying? Because that's not something that anyone with a sound mind would ever do.
Right.
So what I feel like is sometimes, how I always like to focus on the mental health aspect of it. And sometimes we just have to think to ourselves, what is it about this person that's wrong?
Mm-hmm.
Everybody takes the time to think about that. Like, what am I doing wrong? What's wrong with it? Because the signs are always there. When people react a certain way to things, you know what I mean? That's why it's important to communicate with this person to find out where their head is at. It's going to show you little signs of when you see people react like something's crazy and it's really not that big a deal. You just got to understand that. And sometimes people are dealing with a lot of pain that they don't talk about it. Maybe something that they're dealing with on their job. There might be something that they're dealing with their immediate family or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
There's people who are dealing with pressing issues that they really can't handle, and they really don't consult with anybody. They don't talk about it. None of that. And they're just trying to deal with it on their own.
Right.
But they're really not capable of it.
Right. And let me stop you right there. Let me stop you right there. I want to piggyback off of something that you just said. As far as communication with the partner, I'm going to tell you from my personal relationship that I was in, how I had the power to walk away. I had the power and I utilized that power to walk away before things got ugly. But in the terms of communication, there was a lot of times where I called my best friend literally while she was downstairs in the heat of everything. It was venting. I'm going to tell you why that was wrong. Because it doesn't matter how much I could tell my best friend. That's cool. That's somebody I look up to for advice. You need somebody that you can talk to that can level set you. Everybody, I'm the person that level sets a lot of people. And even that type of person needs somebody that can level set them. So that was my level setter. So I was asking her, is there something that I'm doing wrong? But it was wrong the way that I did it in that case scenario when it comes to communication. You never want to talk about the other person while the person's literally downstairs. That's just not a smart idea at all. But if they're right there, the same way I could have been talking to her, I could have, if I chose to stay, I could have had thick skin, whether I liked how the result was or not, and I could have been right there in her face talking it out. So communication with your partner is very important if you're going to continue to stay. If you good.
Okay, so now in that case, sometimes there are certain situations where an outside person can give you a perspective that maybe you or your partner has. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
That does now. At the same time, that does not mean you don't communicate with the person you're with. No matter what, you have to have some form of communication with the person that you're with, hands down. But once in a while, I mean, if you have somebody who has good intentions and knowledge about relationships in general and have a successful relationship. So what I would say is, I wouldn't take financial advice from a broke person, right? And most of us are smart enough to understand that.
Right.
So with that, I wouldn't take relationship advice from a single person or person who has unsuccessful relationships, because how can they help you if they can't help themselves?
Right.
So if they're in a good position, if they're where you want to be, I always use this as a barometer. If you are where I want to be in that particular subject, I feel very comfortable taking advice from you. If
Right.
you are rich,
Right. And it doesn't necessarily mean like just because you're single, you can't give like good advice. It's like saying like you can't give me advice because you've been through 2 divorces. You can't give me good advice because you've been out the game too long. You've been married to this one person for 30 years. It means if your mind is clear, and your mind is on the right path, and you're not mentally blocked inside of your own mind, inside of your own trauma, inside of your own problems, that's why I say like therapy doesn't work for everybody, because you're speaking to another human being. If they got their own stuff going on, it doesn't matter what degree you got. you know, you are not fit to give that guidance if you're not clear-headed.
Exactly. And what I'll say about that, you know, just because somebody, even if somebody has a degree, now I know people who go through their own situation to get paid to help people with theirs. And I've always wanted to be weird because I'm like, if you can't clean up your own house, how can you help me with mine?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But it still all boils down to what kind of foundation does your relationship have with the person you're with. So, are you able to communicate, first of all? Can you speak to them? And they're listening to you and they're not just shutting you out. Are they able to look at things from your perspective? Do they care about your perspective? Or are they just a narcissist? You know what I'm saying? These are things that, and you know, there's always some people who don't accept responsibility, never hold themselves accountable, ever. And if you're with a person like that, you're never going to have a successful relationship. So my whole thing is, you have to be able to communicate. The person has to be receptive to your thoughts. And if they're not, there's not very much you can do with them.
Right. Now let's talk about the situation with Christian Rock and Blueface.
Oh, with the fight in the middle of the street?
Right.
Okay.
Good.
That one, that's just another example of a toxic relationship. And
ding ding. And let me stop right there. If you didn't hear me earlier, I just said that earlier. I gave an example of Kanye West. I gave an example of Kanye West and Kim Kardashian. This was an example of people who are traumatic, who have trauma, and traumatic people attract traumatic people. Yes. When you clear your traumas, because it's never too late. When you clear your own trauma and you get a clear mindset and a better love for yourself, you then attract those kind of people. So this is an example of a couple who was trauma. Christian Rock and Blueface, this is not a matter of trauma. This is a matter of what you just said right there. Toxicity. But go ahead.
So for that, there's actually a different angle here. I got something different that most people will not be able to distinguish, right? And I didn't even mention it. That day I covered that subject. I guess that was like, what, a week and a half ago or whatever. And what I'll say is, for some people, dysfunctionality is functionality. Believe it or not, as silly as it sounds, when you think about it, it's like us outside looking in. This doesn't work for us because it's nonsense. However, with the way both of those people are, it just might work for them.
Right.
And after all of that nonsense that we seem is outrageous, this is their normality. This is what their day-to-day is like. And you know, I've talked about overstimulation, and just like you said, trauma just now. When people get trauma growing up, they get used to it and they can't even function without it. And this happens to women, but there are some men who also deal with the same thing. So if they dealt with a lot of trauma and dysfunction when they were growing up, that's what they've been used to. That's what they actually yearn for as an adult. So they can't just have a regular relationship and be cool. They need that extra drama. They need that. I had a
change my appearance a little bit. Somebody in the comment section said, looking like R. Kelly, bro. I'm like, yeah, glasses off, sleeves rolled up. We gotta look a little different because we not finna look like R. Kelly. All right, go ahead.
I wouldn't have gotten R. Kelly, but they're just trolling. But yeah, that's the main thing that I would say.
No, she cool. I know her.
For some people, dysfunction is function. So us looking up from the outside, looking in, it looks like, oh, okay, what the hell's going on with these fools? But then to them, that's their comfort zone. So they don't see anything really wrong with it. You know what I'm saying? Like they both obviously need help. But if everybody just left them alone, and this the whole social media thing and all that, and they weren't like famous, this would be regular. I know people who have had dysfunctional relationships like that, where they would beat each other up, cheat on each other, disrespect each other, all kind of everything. But they would be together for 30, 40 years. Just like that. You know what I'm saying? And that's their love language.
Blueface.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So I don't know. What do you think about that? Do you think that's a possibility? Have you ever?
Let me tell you something.
Toxicity. That idea.
Toxicity. Just because, listen. I speak English. I don't know how to speak Spanish. It's a language, but I don't know how to speak Spanish. Hindu. You know, I don't know how to speak that language. Hindi. I don't know how to speak that language. I don't know how to speak Portuguese. I know how to speak English. Okay. Self-love and care is my love language. Toxicity is a language. It's a love language. I don't speak that language, but it's still a language.
Exactly. So it's not for you, but it might be for somebody else.
Exactly. So you get what I'm saying? So that is their love language.
Yes,
and they are the same kind of people. That's why they attract each other.
Yes. And I'm going to tell you, if everybody just left them alone, I think they would be just fine. Like, seriously, as crazy as it sounds to us, I really think if we just left them alone, it would be just fine. Because maybe now that you think about it, and we're talking about it, you might just know somebody who has that type of a relationship. And like you said, you don't understand it because you don't speak it, but it works for them. And I know you know somebody who's been like that for 20 years, 30 years, maybe 4 years, and that's just how they are with each other. You know what I'm saying? But guess what? If they ever got into a situation where somebody else were to try to fight one of them, they would team up like Voltron or the Transformers out of Constructicons.
Yeah.
Like, they would definitely be on the same team. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Or
Right.
Twins or whatever you want to use as an analogy. That's just how I see it. They wouldn't let any outside entity get into the mix because they would easily come together and just do what they do against that person. So I know I've seen some. Have you ever noticed a relationship that you've seen like that where it would just be two people who behave like that, but they never leave each other?
This is the example. This is the example when I put in my own personal relationship.
But there's a codependency there because you're not going to find many people who could function like that.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? You have something in common that very few people are going to have in common with you. There's not many people you're going to find on this planet who operate on that frequency where you could like literally beat each other up and cheat on each other. And then
yeah. I'm sorry. Yeah. Let me clear that up there. That is not my, that's not my love language. You get what I'm saying? So it's there, it's a language, just not mine. So I get what you're saying.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. because nobody else is going to really be able to deal with that. And that's why they are so important to each other. Because just think about it. Just imagine Blueface getting with somebody who's who has a normal functioning relationship or is used to normal functioning relationships, and then they try to get with them. How long do you think that's going to last? It won't, because they won't know how to operate like that. They don't speak that language. Or if you're talking about the homegirl, same thing. She's not going to be able to get with a dude that's sound, take care of business, or he's going to be boring as hell to her. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
She's not going to be stimulated enough. She's immediately going to cheat on him with somebody else right off the rip. And she's not going to be able to even stay with him. She's just going to abuse him because he's not going to know how to handle a chick like that.
Yeah, once a woman, and I said this before, once a woman, if a man has sex, men are sexually driven. Men are sexually driven. They like sex. They're sexual creatures. Man can cheat and cheat and cheat and cheat and cheat and she can deal with it. You get what I'm saying? She'll stay. Some of them will stay. A lot of them will stay. Let's say that. But let me say this. Women have emotional attachment. So when they cheat, if they're able to cheat with another man, they are physically there, but they have mentally exited the relationship.
Yeah, if a woman loves you, she can't cheat on you, right? But if she really doesn't, then sure. You know what I'm saying? Like, females, and I don't want people to get it twisted because men are sexually driven.
Right.
But if women are not judged.
I want to, and I'm going to stop right there on that woman not judged. Let me say this. Do you agree with this notion? If you don't, if you disagree, let's have a conversation. Let's talk about it.
Okay.
Men cheat. Men and women like cheat because they can, but men cheat. The difference is women cheat because they're hurt. Men cheat because there's something missing. But women cheat because they're hurt. Do you agree with that?
I don't think it's a situation where it's just cut and dry. There's several different reasons.
Yeah, and not all men, not all women, but there is a vast majority that moves off of that notion, like what leads to them on why they cheat.
Yeah, well, women.
If a woman is having if it's either a woman is cheating out of her relationship because she's hurt, or she's having sex with a bunch of different men, but you better best believe she's not with a man of longevity. You better best believe she's not even in a relationship. She's just having a hot girl summer. She's single.
That's what I'll say about a woman cheating. A woman would cheat on you. Having sex with many men is one thing because maybe she's just a sexual being, or
right.
You know what I mean? It could be different traumas and things that would make her behave like that.
And
right?
not in a commitment.
Yeah, but if she's with you and she cheats, it's because she lost respect for you. Now, there's many ways she can lose respect for you. She could lose respect for you because your sex game is trash. She could lose respect for you because she watched someone disrespect you. You know what I'm saying? So she would lose respect for you. She could lose respect for you because you're not a go-getter. Maybe you play too many video games. You know what I mean? Or you don't have any drive, or you sleep too much, or you eat too much. Maybe she lost respect for you because you're not driven. You're not showing what testosterone should do in a man. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But if a woman loses respect for you, she's going to cheat on you. And that's the main thing. If she doesn't respect you, once the respect is gone for whatever reason, that's when she decides to cheat on you with somebody else who she can respect. And it doesn't mean that she's going to leave you. It just means that you're no longer adequate for her. So she's going to try to find different ways to compensate for that.
Right. All right. So let me ask you this question. Last question. So using all these examples to educate our people to show that it's not too late. Use the examples to say these are situations that were far worse than mine. I'm going to take lessons from these, and I'm going to decide that I am not going to reflect on yesterday, but I am now going to bring my mind into the present and take control on myself on how I will change that for tomorrow. At what point will you finally decide to let your partner go before things get traumatically ugly? Answer that question. What can we teach these people as far as at what point can you finally decide to let your partner go? Whether you just met them or whether you was deep in, at what point will you finally decide to let your partner go before things get traumatically ugly, like those case scenarios?
When you get disrespected, you know what I'm saying? I don't know who that may be. It could be a person just talk to me some type of way. When you show signs of disrespect, because ultimately it's going to fail anyway. So that's my threshold right there. That's what I use to say, you know what? Yeah, I don't need this nonsense. When you decide that you no longer respect me, then yeah, I'm out. I'll gracefully bow out of that situation. That's for a man, because if you don't have respect, you have nothing for a woman. She can't love you if she doesn't respect you. So that's the first time. When you feel like your woman don't respect you, leave.
What about for a woman? At what point? Because
when you can't reach him. When you can't reach him. When your needs are not being met, and he's not willing or no longer willing to fulfill them. If he's just checked out, if he's not interested in fulfilling his part of the bargain, you know what I'm saying? That means his energy is probably somewhere else. And it doesn't necessarily have to be on another female, so it could be whatever. You know what I mean? Even if it's on his purpose and he's grinding, but you'll still know, because he'll make some type of time, or he'll explain it to you, like, listen, it's grind season, boom, 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 and you'll start to see the growth in him as a man. But if it's not grind season, and he just don't give a damn anymore, he just not paying attention to what it is your needs are, you know what I mean? Then yeah, it's no use. Then you gotta go. Once you can't fulfill your part of the bargain, and you can't reach the expectations, if I'm on one side of things, like, there's certain things that I expect from a woman. I expect a woman to love, admire, and respect me. Boom. And if you do have those three things, everything else should fall into place, because they're going to do things. If they respect you and love you, they're going to do things to make sure they're going to be considerate. Consideration is a major component of a relationship. But if they love you, and they will consider you. If they respect you, you will be disrespected, and they won't do certain things. They won't talk to you crazy.
And what is the one thing that, and I just said this in my last show, men want to be loved, but men care more about respect. If you don't respect him, you don't love him. Respect comes with the territory. Men don't care about love. We care about respect first. You may not.
Because what is love really? You know what I'm saying? Like, love is intangible.
What's that? What's that guy? What's he saying in that song? What's love got to do? Got to do? You get what I'm saying? You get what I'm saying? You listen. Let me say this like I'm talking to a woman, right? I like you. No, I love you, but I can't stand you. You heard that line before?
Yeah. And that's fine.
And listen to this.
Okay.
Listen, you can listen to this. Nicki Minaj said this before. Even Nicki Minaj said this line. Listen to this. I know y'all heard this line before. She says, you don't have to like me, but that's okay. But watch your mouth. You remember that line? She said it in an interview. It means you don't have to like me. And this is just a concept, period. Work, friendships, acquaintances. This is just a universal rule. Respect others, treat others the way that you want to be treated. They care about respect. You don't have to like me, but true people who are in their purpose, especially men, you may not have to like me, but you will respect me. True men in their purpose demand that.
Yeah, because they know their worth. You're able to demand things.
If you respect me, the love comes with the respect. If you respect me, that tells me that you care about me. If I'm talking to you and you cut me off, you don't respect me. Perfect situation. I'll give you another example of one of my past relationships. The 2017 one that was for a year. It was Christmas. It's Christmas and I'm arguing and going back and forth with my ex because somebody said to her that they see me inside the one of the employee lots with a chick having sex with a chick in my car. Dead lie. But that's because he wanted to fuck her. But I'm gonna tell you why that. And guess what? When you call me, accuse me of something, and then don't give me a chance to speak, you don't respect me. However, let's rewind. Why did it get to that point? Because nobody at one point even knew that me and this person that was at the same job was in a relationship. Because messages got leaked. Because this person, X, got a hold of their phone and was pretending to text me and was sending all these messages to everybody on the job. Once you get exposed publicly, you then become tried by everyone. Those who want to crack at your woman. Once you get put out there publicly, I become a target to women who want me. I become a target amongst those peers, those people. No, my ex becomes a target to those men that want her, and they would do anything to get a crack and keep it pushing. So with that being said, when you get tested like that, that's fine, but this is where the test goes to how mature you are handling your relationship. Because when you find the one, that's not going to be perfect either. You just need to learn how to find the one who is not as toxic, and then learn how to stay. And you got to actually be able to handle problems. You get what I'm saying? It doesn't mean we have a problem. Fuck this shit, I'm out. Remember that song? Fuck this shit, I'm out. All right now. I don't know what the fuck just happened. I don't really care. I'm gonna get the fuck up out of here. She said, fuck this shit, I'm out. You get what I'm saying? You can't just leave every time it's a problem. It's just a thing of whether somebody is listening to. It's about how you handle it, not the situation, how you handle it. If you're presenting me an issue and I'm trying to explain myself, don't know what the fuck is going on, but then you cut me off and say, I don't care, you don't respect me. You don't respect me. Right?
No, I can definitely do that.
If you can't even hear me out, can't even communicate, you don't respect me. And if I don't feel respected as a man, I don't feel love. And that is men's number one pet peeve. That's the number one thing they talk about.
I don't get respected. If I'm not respected, it means I'm not loved. It means I'm not heard. Men say that they're not heard. Women, women go off of respect too. Because a woman can talk to a man. Women, someone can't even have a conversation with their man because that's how insecure he is. They're afraid to even talk to him because he might snap on them. So how do you get to the point? At what point do you decide to walk away before it gets ugly? Before you're trying to run for shelter? Before you're trying to call a cop? Before you're trying to file for protection?
This is what I always tell people to do when going into relationships. Do what it is that you do naturally. Being selfish is the best way to go into a relationship. I don't believe in compromise. You may not like the sound of that. I don't believe in compromise because when you're compromising, what are you compromising? Yourself. Do not compromise yourself. Do what it is that you want to do in the beginning. So because it's very easy to maintain. You know what I'm saying? You can get through that 6-month honeymoon period by compromising, but it doesn't mean that you're going to be able to get through that.
And if you don't come in your true self form, if you come as something else, you will get something else results. And you can't get mad at anybody but yourself. If you come as somebody who appears to have money, but you're average Joe, you're middle class, but you act like you're running up a bag, like what other people.
It's insustainable. You're not going to be able to maintain that at all.
Exactly. So when the time comes where she ready for you to run that bag, and you ain't got it, can't get it. You can't say that it was tricking. You can't say that it was anything because that's how you come in yourself true form. Be the best version of yourself.
Yeah, because you're gonna be faking it the whole time. Eventually, you're gonna get exposed.
Your relationship is going to be your entire relationship is going to be a lie. What's that Mario said? The lie detector determined that was a lie.
Exactly.
All right, man. Appreciate you. I got another person that wants to call in on Instagram. So I appreciate the time, man.
All right, always a pleasure. I'll let you.
All right, man. Tap back in.
All right.
All right. That was a good one. Let's bring in the next caller. We are far from finished. It ain't over to the something sings. Mic check. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Can you hear me?
Yep, now I can. Ah, that's better.
Yeah, I'm on the train, so it's probably gonna be messing up.
I know. I know. I hear that. I hear that Broad Street line. I used to know the whole thing by heart.
I don't know if you want me to wait until I get to the office.
No, let's talk right now. Nope. Let's get into it. We'll hear her from time to time, and you can ask that robot operator voice if she want to tune into the conversation. She can too. But she's only programmed to say the same thing every day.
Oh,
that's right. All right.
I lose service too.
So all right. So let me give you. Let's level set this. Okay. Let's take it back down to zone 1. I'm gonna give you all the categories, right? And I'm gonna let you pick one of them. So we have Kanye West, Kim Kardashian, right? The trauma case scenario. We have Blueface, right? And we have Christian Rock, right? We have
My situation, my last relationship, one of my old relationships, we had the Oklahoma shooting, the guy that killed his 3 kids, committed suicide from it because he was traumatized or from his big mom giving him an STD. Not saying that that's an excuse. Just going over the categories. We have the Philly stabbing. So we got a lot of categories. You can pick one of those categories I talked about in my monologue, and then tell me what you have for me on the topic. And if you want to share your own experience, this is your opportunity to do so. So the question is, with those categories, at what point will you finally decide to let your partner go before things get dramatically ugly? So go ahead.
I feel like I let it go before and all that.
All right, you want to pick that category?
Yeah.
All right, so let's start with that category. So so you picked the category. So I talked about 5 different things tonight under this topic. So you picked the category on the LA crash. The woman who drove at 100 miles per hour, and she was not intoxicated, and hit 8 cars caught on fire, 6 people killed, 8 people injured on top of that. And she said the reason behind it was because she was arguing with her boyfriend. So go ahead. So you chose that category, and then go ahead. Tell me what you have on the topic.
I feel don't really know how you're doing. In relationships like this, you have to be able to have emotional control and other people trying to figure themselves out like destructive. How big are your institutions? Most people know who they prior to. Actually, they
Here's the thing. Let's start off with this. What if you're the perfect woman, right? And a man who has trauma or a man who is toxic picks you. What if you're the good one and it's a toxic man that you end up with? Then what?
I feel like you have to.
What are you looking for? How do you take control and nip that in the bud?
Well, I mean, a lot of times I feel like I'm a better person in relationships. I like to fix people. So I had to get to a point where I say, I can't be Captain Save a Hoe without a hoe. I can't
Captain Save a Hoe.
You save a man. Like I can't be out there trying to fix broken men. Like like a person who's probably better off than the person they're with. Like I was always making more money than the guys I've dealt with. Not like on purpose or anything. It still happens to be like that. I guess because I attract. I don't know. I attract. Well, they say empaths attract like narcissists.
So you say you all right. So let's start there. So you said you attract narcissistic men. Okay, go ahead.
They say empaths do. I don't know how true that is. I know I'm an empath. Like I feel people's emotions. I can feel when someone's sad, when they're angry, stuff like that. People think it's weird, but I mean that's why I don't really.
So can I ask you a question? Why do you think that you attract narcissistic men?
They like to feed off your energy, high energy.
Okay. We're getting somewhere. You made a very valid point. You made a very valid point. You said they attract. They attract what kind of energy? What kind of people do they attract? What do they prey upon?
High energy, not low energy.
I had a woman one time that called into the show. She was on there like one time. I met her via live because I seen her on Kendra G's. So she said something that caught my attention.
Oh, okay.
She said something that caught my attention, and I followed her, and I invited her to the show. She said her ex-husband, who was a narcissist or narcissistic, she said he preyed upon two things: broken women and women that has daddy issues. So I find that interesting that you say, you know, that a narcissist is basically somebody. Let's make it clear, it is a disorder. Let's make it clear it's a disorder, but the things that accompany the disorder are selfish like thinking. They only think about themselves. They only think about themselves. They want you in their atmosphere, but it's their show. It's their way or the highway. So you said that your ex, he was narcissistic and he was attracting someone like you. So what is it about you that attracted him, the narcissist?
Honestly, I don't know.
No, I'm saying, what are the things that you know about yourself? What are the cons that you know about yourself? Pros and cons, not pros, just cons. What are all the cons that you know about yourself?
At that time, I feel like it was between, I don't know, I give too much. I feel like my cons are not normal cons of a person.
What are they? Name, list some of them. List some of the cons about yourself as comfortable and as willingly as possible.
Yeah, I feel like giving too much. It's like a bad thing.
I'm gonna give you an example. Are you do you get depressed a lot? Do you have low self-esteem? Like, what are some of the cons about yourself?
No, see, like at that time, I wasn't going through stuff like that, so it's like.
Yeah. Oh.
That's why I said I don't feel like my cons are like the things that you think. I mean, at the time I was kind of volatile as far as like how I would be, I guess.
Okay.
I had like a real bad anger problem.
Okay.
I was 21. They really care about how. I didn't care. I was still working on the way I said things and how it.
Okay. So, all right. So
maybe that, but I mean, I don't really say that that's why I would attract it. Because I was really not like him as far as the stuff he was going through. He was depressed. He was going through things. I'm the type of person I really always try to fix broken people. I feel like that's my problem. Like you'll see a red flag, but it's like I'll kind of ignore it. Like no, just like on a person.
Thank you. I'm gonna stop you right there. I'm gonna stop you right there. At that present time, you prove the example that broken people attracts broken people. And this is the case scenario that I. Let me rewind you back. You were broken at that present time. I would say that because but you said it out your own mouth. You gotta listen.
No, I wouldn't say broken because I wouldn't.
Just because you acknowledge it doesn't mean. Just because you acknowledge it means that you know that there's a problem. So if you know there's a problem and you're able to acknowledge it, you have the power to start working on it. It doesn't change the narrative that you're still broken. If you're able to say I'm broken it doesn't mean that you could change the narrative to say, oh, I was just depressed. No. If you're able to say I'm broken, then you were broken. That's fine. But a lot of people are not even able to identify that they are broken. But if they're able to identify it, that means at that point
They have the power to start working. You're broken. That's okay. It's completely fine. But just know that at that certain time that when you were broken, you attracted the energy to another person who was also broken at that certain time. And this is the case scenario that I use when I go back to Blueface. Blueface and Christian Rock. They were an example of somebody who were toxic. And toxic-minded people attract toxic-minded people. That was a WWE match. We don't know everything going behind the camera. We just know that right there, but it's kind of really fiction. You like it, toxic, right? So also, Kanye West and Kim. This was an example of trauma. This is an example of trauma.
and traumatic people attract people who are traumatic. Christian Rock, Blueface attracts people who are toxic. People attracts who's toxic. Your case scenario, you were broken. As somebody who is broken attracts people at that present time. Broken people attract broken people, whether they know that they're broken. And if you know you're broken, then you can admit as well that you didn't want to be alone. You were afraid. Fear.
I don't think it was like
Because, and I'm gonna tell you why that's what it was. Because of three things, guys. 1, 2, 3. Fear, scarcity, and lack, which results in anxiety and stress. Fear, scarcity, and lack. Fear. The fear of being alone. Scarcity.
But
Yes,
I mean,
yes.
I was just saying, but I literally just had minutes.
And that's perfectly fine. But we just but you know, and you're reflecting on something that's not that's going on now, something that happened in the past. But let's be self-admitting to what the past was. You get what I'm saying? Because this is just a reflection. Let's not deflect on your truth of what you're reflecting on. If that's what it was, that's what it was. Fine. If you learned a lesson from it now, good for you. You're moving forward. But it's just I'm just trying to just put a point here. I'm just trying to prove a point. So I want to bring somebody else into the table because you know he missed it a couple times. So I want to give him an opportunity to speak with you as well too. But yes, so my question is, at what point will you finally decide to let your partner go before things dramatically ugly? How do you catch things while it's early? How do you identify the red flag? Let's start off with that. How do you identify red flags? I think your thing is spinning. Can you hear me? How do you identify a red flag? I don't know if her thing. I think her thing is spinning right now. I'm going to bring you back in. I know she was underground, but yes, you have to understand this very good and well. That if you possess the characteristics of a person who has been through a lot of trauma like Kanye, you then, whether you realize it or not, you then prey upon those kind of people to be in your atmosphere. So if you're a clear-minded person, And if you're on this podcast to even watch this, because this is a sensitive topic, if you're even able to watch me even say this stuff, you're clear-minded to me. Guys, if you're able to watch me and say this, you're clear-minded to me. Share the live. If you're watching this right now, share the live to a couple people. We talking real tonight. If you're able to watch this, that means you're clear-minded. So if you're a clear-minded person, it doesn't mean that it stops you from attracting a toxic person. Because guess what? They look for people who are also clear-minded. They also look for people who are clear-minded.
So they can. It doesn't mean because a person is with the right one. Newsflash, you may be the toxic one. And you may be the one bringing anybody in. It doesn't mean that you're preying upon a person. It means that you're just trying to bring anybody in because you don't want to be alone. And look at it from this standpoint. Look at it.
Okay? Now they're not together anymore. Poof, they go to relationship, gone. Now, Kim Kardashian is now with Pete. This person, Kanye, with this kind of caliber, gets with this woman. And this is what Fatima was talking about as far as energy and the kind of people that you attract based upon the kind of person that you are. Now, she is with Pete. She thought she would be able to dominate him. You are wrong, because she had no clue that the person that she thought she was going to use used her. Hello.
For what?
What did women use men for? What do women know? Let me not say that. Let me correct myself. What do 304 women of Kim Kardashian's caliber attract? What do they look for? What do they prey upon? What do 304 women like Kim Kardashian attract? Not attract. What do they look for? Men with what?
Stability.
No, she's looking for a man who has a big bag. She's looking for a man who has hella notoriety. She is not going to deal with no average Joe, but she's also looking for that kind of man that she thinks she's going to control. And the issues that I get, the issues that Kanye had and Kim had, I'm going to level set that. But I will tell you this: she cannot control Kanye. Oh shit, she cannot control Kanye. And she thought she was going to be able to do that with Pete. Guess what? Newsflash. He got you. Gotcha. Not only did he get you,
I'll make you famous.
Not only did he get you, he had an interview and put you on blast. He made it very clear. So maybe Kanye saw something in her, or she saw something in Kanye, because she made it very clear. She made it very clear. She made the move on. She got Kanye. What is it that she could give a man that has that? man that already had that. Look, it's the same answer for what you with the woman that already something simple. Something simple. Can't ask much. Can't ask hard. Can't ask for it. Can't ask all that. Can't ask me. But to her to get ice cream. And that freaking turned her on. Was ecstatic from that. A woman that has everything, you show her the simple things in life. She appreciates that. And that is what, listen, I'm talking right now. I'm getting somewhere with this. She thought she could attract some, she thought she could reel a man into her circle that she could control. Whole time she ain't realized that she's coming across somebody that had the same mindset. And she was the one ended up being salty at the end of the day.
Okay, so going back to your original topic, then at what point do you finally decide to let your partner go before things get dramatically ugly? Define what you mean by like that progression of events.
By the next
relationship traumatically.
By the next category, because we was only going along into the categories. I was supposed to be giving you the categories, but I am very long-winded. So the next category is about toxicity. Blueface, we have Blueface, and we have his girlfriend, Christian Rock. Bang, right there in the comment section. Always work at 2009. Shout out to you. He says, depends how much you got to lose. Some people will never let someone go. Right? Some people will never let someone go. And this is the case with Blueface and Christian Rock. The last caller that called in, the first caller, we were talking about love languages. Toxicity is a love language for them. I give an example. I speak English. I don't speak Portuguese. I don't speak Spanish. I don't speak Chinese. I speak English. English is my language. English is my language. I am a clear-minded person. I have self-love. I care about myself. That's my language, self-love. I am not a toxic person, but toxicity is still a language. It may not be a language I speak, but it's still a love language. Make sense? So this is
saying people who have traumas are more inclined to have a toxicity in their love language.
Exactly. And it doesn't necessarily mean I want to separate trauma and toxicity, because I put toxicity in a different category. You could be a clear-minded person. You could still be toxic. You cannot have an ounce of trauma held back. You cannot have an ounce of trauma, but you can still be toxic. Like dealing with someone like Blueface, dealing with somebody with Christian Rock, who's more like she like men, but she still got a tomboy personality. You know what I'm saying? Like that's just her personality. She ready to rumble with somebody. Her love language is you're not going to fuck anywhere. This man offered $100K to leave him. She ain't going nowhere. Right? They just had a whole sprawl outside. You'd have thought that was ended right there. All right, I'm done. Nah, pussy, you're not going nowhere. Here's $100K. Yo, just take this money. Just leave me, please. She didn't take it. She loves this man. But that's her love language. That's also
pretty toxic too. Like
it's toxic. It's toxic. But is that
instead of like I'm just gonna pay somebody to?
But is that a language that you speak though? They're still together. They have a child. They have a child together. They just welcomed a newborn. It's still a language. It may not be the language you speak, but it's still a love language. Some people are a lot
Okay,
more.
so our categories are what exactly? Just to be clear. So
Kanye Kim,
yeah, toxicity.
Kanye Kim, Blueface and Christian Rock. You're aware of that situation, right?
Nope.
Okay. So the Oklahoma. So that's a little rundown on that one. The next category is: are you familiar with the Oklahoma shooting?
No.
All right. So the man, he kills his 3 kids and commits suicide from his frustration and anger from his baby mom giving him an STD. Cheated on him and came back, gave him an STD. That's the third one. The fourth one is the LA crash. Are you familiar with the California crash? Are you familiar with that one? The lady, she drives 100 miles an hour, hits 8 cars. Cars instantly catch on fire, killing 6 people, including an infant and an unborn child. And on top of that, injured 8 people. On top of that. Are you familiar with that? The story behind that was because she was arguing with her boyfriend. She was stressed out from her boyfriend. She was not intoxicated when she went on this suicide run. She tried to commit suicide. This guy, in his situation, he committed suicide. These are situations that are so severe that it came to a point of no return that I'm using them as examples for people to understand that yours is not that bad. These are at a situation where it's too late. So looking at these examples, at what point will you finally decide to let your partner go before things get dramatically ugly? The fifth category is me. I use my personal situation. I dealt with a woman who was an alcoholic. She was an alcoholic off of on the notion of the traumas, the family trauma that she dealt with. Every time we would go to the deli at nighttime, that closed at 2, the liquor spot, she would go get her shots in, then she would start telling her stories about her stressful situation, her traumatic situations. Then she would start getting verbally abusive with me. Then she would start getting physically abusive with me to the point where I had to restrain her. So we're talking about the psychological mindsets of these kind of people, these situations. And in this situation, I had the power to say that I gave it all the love that I could, but it just wasn't good enough. So I walked away before it got ugly. So using the other situations where it was too late, at what point will you finally decide to let your partner go before things get dramatically ugly? How do you start to take control in the early stages of actually addressing red flags? So answer that question. At what point will you finally decide to let your partner go before things get dramatically ugly? Go. And I'll be quiet.
Wow. Well, that's given all the examples.
Pick a category and then go off of that.
I feel like they're all interweaved within themselves, and I think you hit the nail on the head with the hammer when you had mentioned red flags. And I think taking into account these red flags, like there was a progression of events that led to the unfolding of things getting dramatically ugly within all of the examples that you listed. And so I think taking into account pros and cons, just keep it simple. Like, is the relationship serving you to be the best version of yourself that you can be? And if it's not ignoring those red flags.
So
I'm not.
Give me a case scenario. Do you have a case scenario where do any of these categories on a lesser level do they resonate with you? Do they resonate with you on a personal situation? Do you have anything like similar that happened in the past?
Oh yes.
Let's talk about
had an unhealthy view of relationships when I was younger.
Give me one example.
Okay, so for example, the love, your first love, my first love.
Okay. How old were you when you met this person?
I was 15.
Okay, go ahead.
Like I said, I had unrealistic and unhealthy view of relationships and what I thought that looked like. And so being an adolescent, going through puberty, I'm dealing with my emotions and trying to understand them and figure them out while also trying to figure emotions out of the person that I'm with. And so here I am thinking, oh my goodness, another person loves me, another person sees me, and I'm getting all my value and my worth and affirmations from this person. But then when he was no longer a part of my life, I attempted to commit suicide 4 times because I felt empty and hopeless. And so I can relate to the toxicity in being so attached to another person, losing sight of who I am and not realizing that I'm the unhealthy one in this situation and that I have an unhealthy attachment to another person. But I do think it is.
Thank you. Thank you. And I'm going to give you a round of applause right there because you weren't here earlier when I said monologue. That's how I know you are not capping on what you're saying because you're able to admit that and take accountability that you were the toxic one. And that's okay because if you're able to identify it, that's where it all starts. In order to resolve an issue, a problem, a situation, you have to be able to identify that there is one there. And if it is you, you have to be able to say it to yourself. Say it with me. I am the problem. If you're not the problem, you're not the problem. But you contribute to the problem if you stay with that person. But if you are the problem, you are the problem. Period. That's it. So go ahead. Continue from there.
I was going to say, I do feel that the examples that you had mentioned with Blueface as well as Kim and Kanye gets a little complicated when you're talking about relationships because they're co-parents at the end of the day. You know, they'll always have that relationship going for them. So they're going to be a part of each other's lives, you know, whether they like it or not, you know? So as far as setting boundaries though, healthy boundaries, I think that's the best way to go before things get dramatically ugly. And also having some sort of counsel or mediation present to work through your issues that you're having together with that co-parenting situation.
Okay. And let's take it here. So the I got one for you. So I'm gonna pull this up on my phone. And I'm so glad I'm actually able to use my my tablet. I use my tablet to go on live now. I had this damn thing sitting the whole time like this is a damn near $1,000 tablet. What the hell am I doing with it? I'm like, damn, I could have freed up my phone the whole time. So I see one here, right? So look at this, right? OnlyFans model Courtney Taylor attacked Christian in elevator months before his murder. Right? So I'm gonna play this so y'all can see this. I'm gonna play this so y'all can see this. Hold on.
Hey.
Y'all see this? So in this situation, he's the abuser. No, she's the abuser. In this situation, she's the aggressor. This shows that he was a victim of abuse. She's also the same person that is responsible for his death. She is doing the time in prison as we speak. Long story short, it goes to show you. Here's an example where the man, he was the right person. He was a good man. She was the aggressor. In the situation where the guy committed suicide, killed his kids, okay, she gave him an STD, but in that situation, he becomes the aggressor because, one, you hurt innocent children that didn't ask to be here. You put your children in the middle of you and her situation. That's one. The situation with Blueface and a situation with Christian Rock and Kanye and Kim, what both of them have in common is these are like-minded people that attracted these like-minded people. The Philly stabbing was a case scenario where it seems like the man was the sole aggressor. The man was the sole aggressor. That's what it appeared to be, right? Not that they were like-minded people of the same, because I told you I could be the perfect person, you could be the toxic person, and you prey upon people like me that had their shit together so you can take away from myself for your own self benefit.
Okay, so how would you answer it? Like, at what point would you decide enough is enough, I'm out?
I'm going to tell you. When you first meet somebody, right? A lot of people don't even date. They jump straight to your boyfriend and girlfriend. A lot of people jump into relationships with each other without even having a relationship with themselves. Because of the three things I said: fear, scarcity, and lack, which is also anxiety and stress. They don't want to be alone. They're afraid to be alone. Why are they afraid to be alone? Because they have unanswered trauma within themselves. Things from their past that they have not solved. Let's take it back to home. Mommy and daddy issues. Whatever the relationship was with your father, son, or daughter, whether you're a man or whether you're a woman, it starts at home. And unsolved trauma or unsolved stress from your upbringing,
it's just baggage.
Right. So you can't determine when to decide to let your partner go. Those kind of people, if you are not clear-minded, clear-headed within yourself, if you don't have those things resolved, you can't point out the red flags. You can't point out the red flags of another person when you come in as a red flag. I'm going to say it again. You cannot point out the red flags to know when to stop when you come in as the red flag. So if you are a clear-minded person, then you need to start pointing that shit out.
If you see something in the early stages that you don't like, you need to speak up. If they don't like it or you guys don't come to an agreement with it, at that point you need to determine whether it's you need to stay. If you choose to stay while things ain't ugly, you can only blame yourself for staying when it gets ugly.
That's true. That's true.
People are afraid to open up their mouth to talk to people. You have to break that curse. Open your mouth. I am not afraid to open my mouth. My may my mama rest in peace. My grandma told me that I knew what she meant by it, but she had a point. She said I always had an answer for everything. Right? But I was not afraid to speak my piece to people. Because if you don't say something to somebody, they won't. If they were genuine, you don't know if they were genuine enough to want to listen to you. You don't know if they were genuine enough to say, "Okay, you're right. I'll work on that." You don't know if you're going to get that reaction if you don't speak up. But if you speak up and if they don't want to listen, if they want to be combative, if they want to deflect, none of that means shit to me, because the first thing you were supposed to do was this. Listen. Two people can't talk at the same time. You may not like what I have to say, but I'm not asking you to agree with what I have to say, because if you don't agree with me and we don't come into an agreement in the same like mindsets, I'm going to leave. You don't have to like or agree with what I'm saying, but at least at bare minimum, hear me out. And this is what a lot of my male clients say that they have issues with their girl. They don't listen to them. That is the first red flag. If you can't at least listen to me while I'm talking, you don't respect me. That is the first red flag right there. You should stage left immediately. Easier said than done. Easier said than done. But you got to start doing it. You got to start somewhere. You got to start doing it. That's the first thing. It doesn't mean that if I have an issue with something and I want to point it out that you're not going to listen, you may find out something toxic 6 months, year in. But when it happens, let me tell you something. If you are not legally married, you are single. And you have the power to walk away, especially if you don't have children with that person. That's why you got to be careful who you lay in bed and make babies with. I am 30 years old. I don't have any children. There is a reason for that. Because I don't want to. You can make so many mistakes. The mistake that you cannot unturn is a child.
Well, hopefully the child isn't a mistake to begin with.
Why would the child not be a mistake? Let me tell you something. Somebody could pop a chick can pop your condom, right? Bring a condom slipping on you just so you can nut inside of her. Just to trap you. What happened when the Drake and that girl had sex? That IG model, whatever, had sex. She went in the bathroom. She went in the bathroom. Listen, she went in the bathroom. Hold on. She went in the bathroom, okay? And she grabbed his condom outside of the trash can and tried to
Baste the turkey. She tried to inseminate her coochie by putting his cum that was in the condom that he put in the trash back inside her vagina to get him pregnant. She tried to trap him. But Drake had a surprise for her because he always covered his ground. He put hot sauce. He put hot sauce inside of the condom, which actually kills the sperm cells. Which kills the sperm cells.
Here.
So, you get what I'm saying? She tried to trap him. You get what I'm saying? So, you have to understand.
That's all we heard to that story. You know, we have no context of their relationship prior to.
There was no relationship. It was a one-night stand. That's what it was. It wasn't a relationship. It was a one-night stand. Somebody finally had the opportunity to have sex with a celebrity, and she was trying to run the bag up. She was trying to trap him. She was trying to get a baby. You get what I'm saying? So, what would have happened if she would have had this baby? Because you know Drake wasn't staying with her. You know that. Who would have had to pay child support?
Well, I mean, there's another example.
Hold on. Before we get that, answer this. Before we get that, answer this question. Who would have had to pay child support?
The paternal father.
Exactly. Sex can be consensual. It doesn't mean don't have sex until you're married. He practiced safe sex. She tried to go in the trash can and pour and get his cum out the thing, his semen, and pour it inside of her. He did everything right. So what if you deal with those kind of people? What if this is why I say you get married, right? You have kids, and then it don't work out with you guys. That's one thing. Okay. You already skin deep. But if you have a child and you're not married, you get what I'm saying? You make it hard for you to walk away because now you have a third piece to the puzzle. A child who didn't ask to be here. And you bring the child into the world. Now it's no longer about the two of you. You two have to try to make it work as best possible for co-parenting purposes for the child so that he or she can grow up to have a loving mother, father. It's not the child's business on what you two are going through once that child is born that did not ask to be here. And this is the case in the category that I use with the man that committed suicide and killed his 3 children from frustration and anger from his baby mom cheating on him and giving him an STD. The children didn't have to go through that. Those children were completely innocent. They had nothing to do with him and his baby mom. These children didn't ask to be here. That's why you have to be careful who you get in bed with. That's why you have to be careful. People will rather not get married and have a whole baby. They don't even want to get married, but you'll have a whole child that you have to carry for 9 months with potential pregnancy complications based off of if you have any pre-existing conditions. You know, like you would rather put yourself through that scrutiny for 9 months and risk your life being pregnant, because every pregnancy is a risk, rather than just to sit down and being careful who you're getting yourself involved with. Can we make that make sense?
Relationships don't make sense sometimes.
You get what I'm saying? It's really just some food for thought, man. It's really something for you to think about. And I say that to say, and excuse me if that sounds offensive, but it's the truth. It's the truth. It's the truth. Make it go viral. It's the truth. I just say that to say, at what point do you use these case scenarios to start to control your narrative for yourself now? Let's answer that. Using these case scenarios, at what point, what can people do, men and women, what can they do moving forward to control their lives now so they have the best outcome based off of now? We can't change yesterday. It is what it is. But what can humans do now to change their narrative and can take better control of their life? What can they do now?
First thing you gotta realize is that you can't control anybody other than yourself. That's step one. Because I think a lot of these toxic relationships and the relationships that do unfold to be traumatic and terrible and just chaotic, yet addictive, stem from a lack of control.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's right. That's right. And I want to bring somebody back. Fatima, are you home? Can I bring you back into the into here? I'll bring you to the panel. I'll have a little panel discussion before we go. We got another 20 minutes we can talk. Fatima. Say something. Fatima, can you hear me? I think your thing is on mute. Do me a favor, Fatima. Can you hear me, Ashley?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay.
She's still loading, so.
Gotcha. Fatima, if you can hear me, shut your camera. Okay. Send a request if you can. And I think your Wi-Fi is on. You might want to turn your Wi-Fi off. Turn your Wi-Fi off. If your check your Wi-Fi, because that's usually the reason why it's it be spinning. She just requested again. Can you hear me? Check your Wi-Fi. If your Wi-Fi is on, turn your Wi-Fi off. Let me do this. I'm gonna bring her out. Say something, Fatima.
Yeah, Fatima's having technical difficulties.
Yeah, I know, man. It's a shame, man.
Yeah, and you like went all over the place, like with this one topic. You took it in so many different directions.
I mean, it's a bunch of different categories that paints the same narrative. Back to my question: using these case scenarios, you know, you have to ask yourself, what are you going to do to take better control over your life? That's the real question. Over your life.
Yeah, it's difficult. I recently found myself in a situation where I was developing an unhealthy attachment to my partner, and I had to realize like his tendencies, like his behaviors weren't healthy and they weren't good for my life. So it's like it doesn't make sense to keep pursuing a relationship that's not enriching my life or bringing any sort of happiness, and holding on to those like moments, those little Kodak moments in my head that I had of us together isn't going to change the reality of his behaviors right now in the future.
Mm-hmm.
Not in the future, but in the present, excuse me.
Right. I'm gonna try one more time. Is her thing spinning?
Mm-hmm.
Hold on. I got the perfect song for you. I ain't gonna play it, but it was a song I had playing earlier. Spinning. No, she didn't even say spinning. She said spilling. Well, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying spilling. I'm saying spinning. Her shit was spinning. But yes, no, that makes sense, man. And what would you? Let me say this. So, what is the definition of trauma? What's the definition of trauma? Can you hear me? Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Good.
It's an event or a series of events that causes behavioral patterns that would affect daily behaviors and relationships. That's how I would define trauma.
Okay. All right. So trauma is an emotional response to a terrible event, like an accident, the R word, we're not going to say that on YouTube, or natural disaster. Immediately after the event, shock and denial. Shock and denial are typical. Shock and, most importantly, denial of the situation is far more common. Longer term reactions include unpredictable emotions, flashbacks. You ready for this one? Strained relationships and even physical symptoms such as headaches or nausea. Headaches or nausea, which comes from what I said. Fear, scarcity, and lack from your traumas, which results in anxiety and stress, such as headaches, and if it gets as bad, nausea. So that's trauma. That's what are the early signs of trauma? What are the symptoms? The first one, exhaustion. Exhaustion. The second one, confusion, sadness, depression. What I just say? Anxiety. You're agitated. You're confused. Numbness. Most of your responses, they're usually normal. They're not far-fetched. Most of the responses are not convoluted. Most of the responses are normal in that they affect most survivors and they're socially acceptable. They're still psychologically effective and self-limiting. But trauma is trauma at the end of the day. Those are the early signs. So what you need, what does it feel like? What does trauma feel like? What is the most common feeling? Feeling is based off of what? An emotion. And a lot of people, men and women alike, and I've seen this a lot speaking to women, a lot of times, let me ask you this question. What do you think society has to offer in terms of what do you think the government has to offer within like the next year in terms of like stability? This is a sidebar question. What do you think that the government has to offer based off of what's going on right now? What do you think that they have to offer for us?
Man, I don't believe the government has jack to offer the American people going forward. That stimmy just jacked everything up.
What do you think might need to be the course of action?
Reform.
Okay. Now, let me ask you this. Okay. What do you think that women should do when they come across these case scenarios in regards to toxicity and trauma?
Education, first of all. Got to take the time to invest in becoming knowledgeable of the mental health of yourself and processing, taking the time to process
Okay.
your life.
It seems like you're more of a thinker.
As opposed to what? A talker?
No, it seems like you're more of a thinker and not a feeler. A lot of times I ask a woman, what do you think about something? I guarantee you they're quick to tell you how they feel. I feel. When I say, what do you think about this? They are quick to tell you about how they feel. Feeling is based off of an emotion. So you actually passed the test. I was expecting based off of vast majority on the average to fail the test. I was expecting you to say, well, I feel as though when you feel something, you're going off of your emotions, your feelings. But you passed. So you seem more like a logical thinker and not you go off of what you think. But on the average, a lot of people go off of how they feel and not how they think. People feel with their hearts and they don't think with their brain. That's how when they feel and they use their emotions, that's how they get their feelings hurt. If more people start thinking about what they're doing and not go off of how they feel, when you feel, you're moving in a selfish, when you feel, you're moving in a selfish manner. When you think, you have to sit for a second. Because I guarantee you, somebody can answer my questions right away. They'll be quick. Well, I feel as though, but because you had to think, you couldn't answer right away. People that think are logical, and whether they like the resources or the answers that come out of their own mouth, when you think, you go off of a biased opinion, with an open mindset. When you feel about something, you're moving off of how you want it to be. And that's not reality. So that's the point that I'm trying to make. So if people start thinking, that's the next phase on at what point will you finally decide to let your partner go before things get traumatically ugly. When more people start thinking, going off of what they think and not moving off of their emotions, people who think have a clear mindset. They'll be focused. They'll be thinking about the things what you do. Because when somebody uses their emotions and they feel, you can do so many toxic things, they're still emotionally attached to you. Hello, I'm getting somewhere tonight. Y'all not hearing me tonight. Y'all are not hearing me tonight. For real. Am I telling the truth or no?
No, yeah, you're telling the truth.
Start thinking more and stop using your feelings more. If you think about a person, you respect them. If you feel for a person, you may be doing so much to them and not realize that you're disrespecting them. Plenty of men go off of how they think. Most women are known to be emotional creatures.
It's been ass backwards for me. I've been getting all the emotional dudes.
Let's talk about it.
Man, being empathetic to somebody's emotions when you're a logical thinker makes that relationship that much harder.
So you're saying you come across a lot of emotional men. I'm not saying that there ain't none out there. There's plenty of them out there. Why do you come across emotional men? Why do you think that you come across emotional men?
Like you were saying, I think it's something that I'm attracted to because I feel as though I have to be a thinker in most situations. And so
do you want control of the relationship? Do you want control?
I can't control the relationship, but I can control my actions within the relationship.
Oh, I like you. I swear to God, I like you. You keep coming up with every answer that's the opposite of what I was anticipating on you saying. Listen, y'all. I think she got me tonight. She said, listen, man, I heard about you. She said, I heard about you. But you know what I'm saying?
Let's talk about it, you know?
But basically, you come across these emotional men because you said that's who you attract. I think I want you to take a little more accountability on that. That's something that you want. If that's how you're thinking,
that's something I'm attracted to.
Because you have a higher advantage at controlling the narrative. A man who's emotional.
Hey man, there is some truth to this.
Yes. So what happens with the man? What happens when you're dealing with a man that where you can control? What is it taking away?
Again, I can't control him, but it gives me that.
I asked a direct question. What is it taking away? A man who is more emotional to you, who is more logical. What is it taking away from the relationship? If you don't know the answer, just say, I don't know. That's fine. Because I got the answer for you. But tell me, what do you think? I want to know what do you think first
What
before I
does
just give you an
being in a
answer.
relationship with an emotional man take away from me?
No, what does it take away from the relationship with a man who is emotional versus a woman who is more logical? Because it's usually the opposite. So in this case scenario, what is the advantage for you, but takes away from the relationship? Hold on. Give me 1 second.
I think power.
Because I was about to play this. I was about to play this. But you said it right on the nose. You said it right on the nose. Control. If a man doesn't have a sense of leadership, that is something that you want, that you need to look for in a man. Somebody who has the mindset to want to be a leader, a protector, and a provider. That is the bare minimum that he must come with to the table. Do you have children?
Yes.
How many children do you have?
One.
How old is boy or girl?
She is 10.
She's 10. Okay.
No co-parenting. Father's not involved.
Okay. And if you don't mind me asking, what happened that you two didn't work out? If you want to speak vaguely.
I have no idea who he is. This was back in my sowing my oats youth.
Oh, so you don't know who the baby father is?
Correct.
So 10 years is a long time. You didn't try like one of those you didn't try ways that, like, as far as finding out like
Oh no, the paternity test, as far as that goes, is out of my hands because I cannot track you down and stick a cotton swab in your mouth and get that sent to the lab. That has to be a willingness on his part. And
so you would just pretty much, like, would it be safe to say that you at that present time you would just being messy, like you would just mess with a bunch of different men?
yes.
Like nymph, like you like a sex addict.
Yes.
Okay. That's heavy. That
Where were we going with this thought before all this heavy?
because I was I wanted to ask you about, as far as like co-parenting. So you have a daughter, right?
Yeah.
How do you what do you teach your daughter? What are you teaching your daughter as far as what are you doing what steps are you taking with your daughter to as a single parent to make sure that she doesn't make the same mistakes that you did? What
Definitely, I have her in therapy, so she has a safe space with a non-biased party that she can speak with about whatever issues that she's having, and just having conversations with her, being open and transparent with her, as within boundaries, within a healthy respect, age appropriateness, that sort of thing. We've already had the birds and the bees discussions, but as far as relationship, I have not sat down with her and discussed what a healthy relationship should be, and I haven't been able to model what a healthy relationship looks like for her.
With the
Because
apps,
I'm not one to introduce someone that I'm dating to my daughter right away.
okay, with the absence of a man in the house, the therapist that she speaks to, is it a man or a woman?
A woman.
Okay. Did you just happen to run into this person who happened to be the woman, or you picked the female therapist?
No, it's just the therapist that was assigned to her. It's fairly new for her starting therapy. She's only had a couple sessions, so I want to give her the space to, I guess,
Open herself up without feeling like she's being wow, yeah, and you want to do that. You want to open. You want to feel like you don't want to make a child feel. And I tell a lot of people, I don't have children, so let's make that clear. But I'm just talking about what makes sense. And we were all children at one point. That's the standpoint that I'm coming from with this. You want to be able to make them. And this is important because children 100% run off of this. So you got to capitalize on it for the good. They go off of how they feel. And if they feel like there's no emotional attachment with their parent, if they feel betrayed, if they feel like they're being closed in, if they feel like they don't have the option of voice with the person that they're around every day until they become a legal adult, they rebel. They rebel when they become adults, and in some cases, they rebel while they're children. So I feel like you definitely are taking a very necessary steps while that child is young to try to clear up some things, because there's some clearing up to do. There's some fixation that is needed, and it routes from I don't know exactly what it is, but I can tell you one of the things that to consider: the absence of that second half in the dual parenting situation. So that's good, because you want this child to be able to grow up with some decent principles, because this is where it starts at. This is where all the trauma and toxicity starts at. It starts at home.
Yeah, there's confusion, there's questions, unanswered questions lead to experience, which isn't the best teacher.
Mm-hmm. That's right. And yeah, man. So to answer the question, at what point will you finally decide to let your partner go before things get ugly? So close it out. What can you do? Because you're important too. At some point, you want to be with somebody. Are you in a relationship now?
No.
At some point, you're going to want to be. So, what steps, what measures are you taking with yourself so you don't end up in these situations where there's no point of return? What measures are you taking with yourself? That's fine, you're doing with your child, but you still matter. You are the most important person. You become before your child. You have to be straight in your head in order to, give that guidance to others. You have to love yourself in order to love your child. You have to. So, and it seems like you seem like you're very clear-headed, and it seems like you're very accountable too. I appreciate that, because I got a lot of people that they be on here, they be capping, man. They be on here capping. I like you. You good. You're good.
I'm reckless and I'm impulsive, but I'm in progress.
But you're aware and you're able to admit it. The first thing to self-improvement is admitting that you are your problem. You are your problem.
And I think my answer to your topic question would be to assess, like to have a break, to give the relationship space and come back to it later. You know,
with the clear mindset.
If,
with a clearer mindset.
Exactly. And if you're coming back into the relationship and you have to consistently take breaks from it because it's too much, that's the point where I just gotta let it go.
Mm-hmm. All right, man. Well, I definitely I appreciate you. I want to get in touch with you too as well. Or reach out to you as soon as I get off of here. So if you don't mind. So be on the lookout. Be on the lookout for a phone call. As soon as I close this show out, I'm going to give you a call.
All right.
Let me write your name down. And finally, I'm glad I finally got to actually speak to you. Been a while, man. Been a while. Appreciate that. But yeah, that was a good conversation. That was a good combo. Got to speak to a few people tonight. Monday. I'll let you know if I'm going live or not. Might wait till next Friday. But if things go as planned, Monday, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we are back at it again. I have an idea of what I'm going to talk about. I see something that's trending in the social media streets. But until next time, if you F's with your boy, there's my Cash App. Also, if you like your boy, and if you enjoyed this podcast, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Make sure you like this video. And most importantly, drop a comment. But most importantly, make sure you subscribe to the channel. So, I appreciate y'all. Thank you for tuning in to Relationship Talk with G's, where our conversations aim to keep you pleased. I'm your boy A1G's, and you have been welcomed into the Guru's house. But as we always say, it's time to put your shoes back on, because you don't have to go home, but you gotta get the hell up out of here. Deuces. We are over and out.
So many things we can do. Room for us too. We can do it, baby. Rose petals, candles lit. I clap my hands in. Right like special the room. Name it for you. Know you had a long day. Let me take away your pain. Give me all of your emotions. Land it like a plane on your back if I can hold it. Life is but a dream that you manifest slowly. So fuck a fantasy. This your motherfucking moment. This your motherfucking moment. This your motherfucking moment. 7 whole days, how you leave me on vacation. All inside you, I can't leave. 97 degrees, come get some vitamin D. Call your nigga up, say you boss a piece of shit. You mandated OT. Let me fuck you back to sleep. Give me all of your emotions. Knock it out the park with that piece of when you throwing it. Your trick catching light came on, I might have to tow it. This ain't no Hell Kitty, but she ride me like a pony. Girl, it's your motherfucking moment. Girl, it's your motherfucking moment. Girl, it's your motherfucking moment. It's your motherfucking moment.